Hey everyone, it's Pete. It's just me on my own, no Fran today. That's because she's off gallivanting, having fun, and I'm just here by myself, thinking about movies and depressing myself. Yeah, what a year it's been. I thought, just mainly to get things off my chest, that I'd do a special bonus episode for fans of both our... See, I said Frans, not fans. Got Fran on the brain. She's not left me or anything, she's just away for the weekend with a friend. Not a guy from a gym or anything like that. Anyway, yeah, fans of both our podcasts might know that we've been a little bit frustrated, shall we say, with the output of 2019, particularly at the cinema. It's been a pretty bad year, I'd say. I mean, the year's not over. It's the 1st of November as we speak. We've still got a lot of good stuff to come, really. So what I thought I'd talk about really is just things I've seen, things I've enjoyed, things I haven't. I'll go through my top 10 and a few things I'm looking forward to, and a few of the things that I've found really disappointing this year. So to begin, we'll go over what are the 10 biggest grossing movies at the box office of the year. Go through what I thought about them, what I liked, what I didn't like, and whether they really deserved the kind of massive box office returns they've got. So top of the list is Avengers Endgame. I absolutely loved Infinity War. I thought it was perhaps the best in the Marvel films by a long way, really. I just loved how the cast came together as an ensemble. I loved all the action. I loved the great villain we had. And Endgame was good. It was good. No complaints about it. But I don't know. As a culmination of all these great Marvel films that we've had, I thought it was a tad disappointing. I thought I was expecting more. But I know everyone largely liked it, and again, I don't want to be critical of it. I thought it was a decent movie. I enjoyed it. I did go to see it twice. I'd say this is my criticism, if you can call it that, of Marvel. Their films are just too slick. There's not. I get the feeling a lot of the time that there's just not the passion behind it, and I guess that's okay. By now, if you're like Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, you've been doing these movies for 10 years, maybe more, and you've got to think, fair enough, really. Fair enough that they want to step away from the project, and fair enough maybe that they're not as passionate about it as they once were. But yeah, I definitely got that vibe, just that the people involved kind of wanted it to be over and were quite happy that it was ending. And I just expected more. Story-wise, it was good. It wasn't great. Was it as good as Infinity War? Definitely not. But still, it was fine. There wasn't anything I particularly disliked about it. There wasn't anything that I really loved about it either. I think maybe just you could have added a bit to Infinity War and ended it there. Did we need another 3-hour epic? Perhaps not. So that was Endgame. Don't really have a hot take on it. What I do have a hot take on is the next up, the second highest grossing film of 2019 so far, The Lion King, the Disney live action remake, which is not a live action remake because it's all CGI. And CGI where you can't see any kind of expression on the animals' faces. So what's the point? I'm like that with all these Disney live action remakes. We all know why they're being made, for money. But again, it's just a homogenized, boring retread, rehashing of things we've seen before, done not as well, and they're not going to stand up. They're not going to stand the test of time. They're not a thing anyone wants. No one's begging for live action remakes of certain Disney films. No one's ever asked for this. This is just something that they've done, and now we have to live with them. I mean, you don't have to go and see them, I guess, but they do take up a lot of slots for things that are good and original in our cinemas all over the country and across the world. I wanted to see quite a few movies that came out around the same time as The Lion King, and my local theatre didn't even show them because they were showing back-to-back showings of The Lion King. So this is my main problem with them. I mean, if you've got a huge multiplex near you, then you're going to be able to get in and see these other movies. If you've got a small theatre like I do, or you choose to go to a small kind of indie theatre because they're not full of people talking and eating snacks really loudly, then yeah, they're having to show these things to stay afloat, and they end up dominating the lineup, and better and smaller films get pushed out of the way for these massive budget remakes of things that were already good. We didn't need these, and I'm sick of them. So, 2 Disney products back to back. I hated them. I didn't hate Endgame, but I hated The Lion King. It was just pointless waste of time. Toy Story 4 is the 3rd highest grossing movie so far of 2019. Again, there's another Toy Story movie. Did we need it? No, we didn't. What's the point? I just, saying there's franchise overload this year, and absolutely there is. Yeah, it's just retellings, sequels. It's been like this for a while, but this year it's just felt like it's been just beating you over the head. Everything that's come out has just felt like something I've seen before a lot of the time. All these big movies, I'm just so sick of it. Toy Story 4 it was good. Good movie. Like Endgame, it was good. Was it great? No. Was it anything special? No. Just why? We just make something else. The 4th highest grossing movie of 2019. Captain Marvel. Meh. There's an enormous amount of political bitching before this. Stuff Brie Larson had said. It was blown out of context, so it got turned into this huge crusade for women superheroes, and we already had those. There have been women in the Avengers and the Marvel Universe since the very beginning of it. I guess, you've got now, she's like the most powerful hero, and I guess, it's a big thing for women. Is it? I don't know. I'm not a woman. Fran was very much of the mind that it didn't make her feel empowered or anything like that, but obviously she doesn't speak for every single woman. If you're a lady, leave a comment. Did Captain Marvel make you feel empowered? I mean, I saw On the Basis of Sex this year, a movie specifically about feminism and feminist icons like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That was brilliant. I was fighting with my family, which we'll talk about later. Again, female lead, strong female lead, really, really good. Both came out around the same time. Both completely ignored, really, by the mainstream audience. I just don't get it. I mean, it's just another Marvel movie. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It entertained me for 2 hours. What more do you expect from a film? Again, just, I don't know, maybe some kind of original ideas. Who knows? Captain Marvel, it was fine. Talking of things that were just fine, the 5th highest grossing movie of 2019, Spider-Man, Far From Home. Yeah, it was fine. It's another Marvel movie. It was good. I went home at the end thinking that was definitely a film that I saw. Things happened in it. Some of them were mildly exciting. There was lots of explosions and things. Did it have interesting characters or an interesting story? Not really. No. It was just another Marvel movie like all the others. You could literally start copy and pasting them now and I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the difference between them is. It was fine. Just another Marvel movie. And then, 6th, Aladdin. I think I've said all I need to say about Disney live action remakes. When I talked about The Lion King, just why and what was this for? Who was this for? Who wants this? I just don't get it. It's just Aladdin again, but this time it was in live action, and the genie wasn't as good because Robin Williams is dead. If you want to see Aladdin, just watch Aladdin. So we've finally hit something on the list that, while still technically like part of a big franchise, is kind of an original idea. Joker is the 7th highest grossing movie of 2019. I'll talk about Joker later on because I think it does need a bit of a conversation around it, and I don't want to just skate over it and say it's more franchise bullshit because it was at least trying. So I'll talk about Joker in a bit. The 8th most highest grossing movie of 2019 is It Chapter 2. I really liked It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. It 2, it was funny, creepy, I mean not scary. I don't usually find horror movies scary anyway, so yeah, I didn't expect to be scared, but I really liked the visual style, I really liked the cast, I really liked the story, I really liked all the performances. I really, really liked it too. I seem to be against the grain with that. A lot of people, especially on Twitter, seem to think it was awful. The guys at Red Letter Media, who I really respect, didn't like it. But I thought it was great. I'm trying to think of things I didn't like about it. Probably the length. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it went over long. I think the action scenes at the end probably dragged on far longer than it needed to, and yeah, it's a weird story anyway to try and adapt into a film. So yeah, kudos to the directors and the cast for making it really interesting and fun. Yeah, I'd like to see more from that universe. I don't know, that's not possible. There's no more books. I don't know. It's taken me until the 8th entry on the list to get to something that I'd say I loved this year. And It Chapter 2, I loved it. It was great. The 9th highest grossing movie of 2019, which I was surprised with, but pleased at the same time, it's Us. Really, really liked Us. Not as much as Get Out, but it was still good, yeah. Again, good cast, good performances, genuinely quite creepy in places, bit of a crazy story, I guess, but yeah, I really liked it. And again, there's maybe not the most original of ideas, but it is an original story, and I know you shouldn't have to give credit for that anymore, but it still was an original idea, and yeah, made by a really good director with a really good cast, really good score, really well shot. What else can you say? It was a good movie, and I'm glad it's done well at the box office. So I want to see more from that director. Number 10, Hobbs and Shaw. The Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Well, what to say about Hobbs and Shaw? Is there anything to say anymore about the Fast and the Furious franchise? You go in, you know you're going to get a big dumb action movie, and I love big dumb action movies. This was one of those. Yeah, there's not much else to say about Hobbs and Shaw. It was fun, I guess. Did we need it? No. But yeah, sure, it was fun. Why not? Fast and the Furious movies always do well. You've got two big names involved. Why the hell not? Make more movies like this. There's not enough big dumb action movies anymore that do well at the box office, and that's a shame. I never thought I'd say more Fast and the Furious movies, but why not? I mean, I've criticised the ongoing franchise kind of movies that are going through, but I'd say the Fast and the Furious at least try and outdo themselves with each movie that they make. They get bigger and dumber and sillier as the series progresses, and I like that, whereas I find sometimes, particularly in the Marvel movies, they just kind of make a filler episode with a lower budget and a smaller cast, and it's just you'll go from watching an Avengers movie to something like Captain Marvel, and you're like, oh, well, I guess that was a thing, and now I wait for the next thing that might be more exciting. And like things like Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'm like, who was that for? Yeah. But at least these films, the Fast and Furious movies get bigger and stupider and crazier each time. And I think they deserve credit for that. Yeah. I mean, you love them or hate them, they're okay. There's something to watch, and you can just disengage your brain. And I like that. Hobbs and Shaw was okay, I guess. So those were the 10 highest grossing movies of 2019 so far. Now I'm going to talk about the 10 movies that I have really loved this year, my favourite movies of the year. Some of them might have a slight overlap in release dates, so some of these may have been released in late 2018 in America, but in the UK where I am, these have been released in 2019. So, top of the list doesn't mean this is my favourite movie, these are just my 10 favourite movies. My 10 favourite movies doesn't necessarily mean this is not necessarily in order of how much I like them. I recently saw Terminator Dark Fate. There's me constantly harping on about franchise movies, another Terminator movie, yeah. But this one was good, unlike Genesis and Terminator 3 and Salvation. This one was good, like really good. The action was really well shot, and it didn't look like it had been just made on some guy's computer. Really cool and creepy scenes. Like the Terminators was scary in this, and that's how they should be. That's why the first one and the second one worked so well. They didn't seem like cartoon characters, the Terminators. They were like a genuine threat, and the actors actually looked like they were scared of them. I mean, you got really good performances from Linda Hamilton, from Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mackenzie. She was amazing. Terminator Dark Fate was really, really good. I couldn't recommend it enough. Second on my list, Booksmart. Really, really, really funny indie comedy. It did get a theatrical release. And I think that's almost to its detriment, really. If that had been out on Netflix or something like that, on one of the streaming services, I think it would have got more attention, the attention it deserved. Booksmart probably is my favourite movie of the year so far. It's hilarious, the dialogue's amazing, the performances from such young actresses and actors, just incredible. It was the funniest film I have seen probably in the last 5-6 years. A lot of people comparing it to Superbad, but it's a different kind of humour. A lot more PC, shall we say. I think that's worked into the humour though, because these young characters growing up in this kind of snowflakey SJW millennial culture have got all these opinions that we kind of project onto millennials now, and that generation, and they're trying to come to terms with those opinions that they think they should have, but also at the same time still trying to do all the things teenagers are trying to do, like get drunk and get laid, things like that. And I thought it was a really good contrast between how we perceive millennials, but how teenagers are still going to act. I think we're always pinning onto that generation that they want to do certain things and they are a certain way, and they're no fun anymore. What happened to just wilding out and being kids? And I think Booksmart shows that generation still wants to do all that stuff, but they're also aware of all the really horrible shit that's happened in the past. And yeah, they just want to move beyond that, maybe be a better generation if that's possible. But yeah, they're still kids and they're having a good time, and that's really well reflected in Booksmart. And I just can't recommend Booksmart enough. It should be out on a streaming service somewhere by now, or DVD, wherever you can find it. Booksmart was amazing. Absolutely loved it. Another movie I really loved this year was Fighting With My Family, starring Florence Pugh and Nick Frost, Lena Headey, and The Rock pops up for a bit. Not very much of it. Fighting With My Family was another really good comedy. Florence Pugh as well is incredible in it. I know she's been really good in Midsommar this year as well, and she's also in the new Little Women film, so yeah, her star is in the ascendancy, and rightly so, because she was amazing. And Fighting With My Family is a really good comedy. Stephen Merchant wrote and directed. Excellent job, and it's really got his finger marks on it. Really funny movie. I mentioned this slightly earlier as well, On the Basis of Sex. It might have been a 2018 release in the US, but came out early this year in Britain. We did an episode on it on this podcast, the Pete and Fran podcast, so check that out if you want more detail on that. Really good movie, inspirational, really good performances. Felicity Jones, always brilliant. Really liked it. Brightburn is another on my list. Excellent movie from James Gunn. Great performances again. Elizabeth Banks is really good in it, and I just loved the concept of this movie. For those of you who didn't see it, it features basically an idea of what it would be like if Superman hadn't been nice. It's exactly the same origin story as Superman, but the main character is evil and becomes a serial killer with his superpowers. Really interesting movie, and a lot of really fun sequences as well. Some good jump scares, and just in general, like a good fun kind of weird horror movie. And yeah, really happy it got through. Just it's the kind of thing you don't expect anyone to make anymore. Kind of just riding on the name of James Gunn and the fact that it kind of features superheroes. I loved it. Couldn't recommend that enough. On to Netflix movies. The Laundromat, Wine Country, and Paddleton. I'm kind of lumping them all in together. But just to make a broader point, really, about I think that last year I really liked a lot of original Netflix movies such as Annihilation, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Netflix is bringing it. And the other streaming services are not far behind them. There's been some amazing stuff on Amazon Prime. El Camino has just come out as well, the Breaking Bad movie on Netflix. They're the ones, they seem to be making original ideas these days, and the most interesting documentaries. The streaming services are kicking cinema's ass right now. And long may it continue, because Jesus, I'm getting sick of going to the cinema these days, because people are just insufferably rude and just won't shut the fuck up and won't stop playing with their phones. So yeah, more great Netflix movies. Thanks very much. Another kind of surprise, I guess, was A Long Shot, a comedy featuring Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. She plays the Secretary of State. He plays like the scuzzy journalist guy, schlubby kind of fat loser who falls in love with this impossibly beautiful and intelligent woman, and Charlize Theron. But yeah, it's just a funny comedy. Lots of Seth Rogen-y kind of humor. If you love Seth Rogen, I do. Then yeah, you'll get a lot out of this. Both the leads really funny. Lots of good set pieces. A scene where he falls down the stairs is truly hilarious, and I will happily watch this again. when I get the chance. It's kind of one of those, every now and then Hollywood does manage to churn out a really good comedy. A couple of years back, Game Night was a big hit. A lot of people were really surprised. Like, oh, you managed to make one of these Jason Bateman and Friends comedies. Those kind of styles, just a broad comedy for everyone, rom-com kind of thing. Yeah, just a good comedy movie. What, just like Booksmart. Booksmart kind of had a bit more going on, but yeah, just good comedies. Just make good comedies. There's not enough of them out. Sick of fucking superheroes. For probably those of you listening in America, probably haven't seen this or heard of this. Wild Rose. It's a British film about a country and western singer in Scotland. And she, just about her struggles growing up. She's like on release from prison and things like that. A really good character story, really good music in it. Kind of what A Star Is Born should have been, instead of being really boring. Just a really delightful, fun, kind of heartwarming movie. If you can find it, Wild Rose. Go look it up. It's great. And then, from two of my favourite directors, my final two favourite movies of the year. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino knocks it out of the park again. Leo and Brad, absolutely brilliant. And I just love Tarantino's attitude to the whole, do you think your films are too violent? Or, why don't the women in your films have more lines? And he's just like, fuck off. I'm going to make the movies I want. I'm going to tell the stories I want to tell. I'm going to make great films, and people will go to see them because I'm a respected director and I get to do whatever I want. And Tarantino, man, he's just such a ledge. This film, probably one of my favourite, one of the funniest. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in it are just absolutely amazing. They just bring the characters to life. They bring the time period to life. I think I've run out of superlatives for someone like Tarantino. He's just such a talented director. It's become kind of fashionable to rip on him and Scorsese these days, and we're supposed to revere, people like Jon Favreau as like these incredible visionaries, but they're not anymore. They're just churning out more Disney shit, and Tarantino just would not do that. It's nice to see there are still directors like him around, but they are a dying breed. One man who also will always kind of tell the story he wants to tell, Chris Morris, director of Four Lions, producer of some of the best British comedy out there, The Day to Day, Brass Eye, things like that. Here's the follow-up to Four Lions, The Day Shall Come. Watched this recently. It was really, really funny. Really interesting story that is kind of based on true events and some of the FBI's tactics, shall we say. It's really funny. And just kind of really pokes fun at quite a complex issue, while also raising some pretty good points about how terrorism is handled, not just in America but in the UK as well, and all over the Western world. Very, very interesting thought piece. So there's a lot of good jokes in it as well. A really well crafted and interesting story. It's The Day Shall Come. Might still be in theatres if you're lucky. So those are my top 10 movies of the year. So there was some gold amongst the shit. Not much, but there was some. You really have to kind of go looking now to find these indie kind of comedies, indie movies, and even going to see Long Shot was difficult. Like, they managed to kind of release it kind of a dead period. I think it's the only reason anyone went to see Long Shot, but yeah, it was really good. Wild Rose did well in the UK. I assume it did come out in America, but yeah, it didn't exactly raise the roof. I'm glad Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did actually do really well at the box office. There's a shame about Booksmart. Fighting With My Family also did really well. So people are still going to see these new ideas and decent movies, and that's good to see. So, as I said, the movie's not over yet, and there are still some interesting things to come in 2019. The Irishman is released in 1 week. I'm very, very excited about that. That's coming out on Netflix. Scorsese's new movie. It's probably going to be great because Scorsese's a genius. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, there's a Star Wars movie this year, Episode 9. Something to look forward to. We'll be talking about that on the podcast. So keep your eyes and ears pinned for that. The Lighthouse and Jojo Rabbit. 2 really, really good directors there. And a lot of great actors and performers in them. Sadly, I doubt I'll be able to see them in the UK until 2020, even though both have been released in America. And yeah, just don't get it. Where the fuck the logic for that is, but yeah, I'll be going to see both as soon as I can, the moment they're released in the UK. And I thought I'd end on a down note because that's good broadcasting. Let's talk about some of the 4 movies here that just really, really disappointed me this year. And I said I'd talk about it, so top of that list is Joker. I just did not get Joker. Just did not get it. I don't get where the absolute adulation for this movie is coming from. I just do not understand. I mean, I could have written some huge spiel about Joker, but I just came away thinking what was the point of this film? If you wanted to make a valid point about mental health issues or psychopaths in general, about crime, about inequality, then why the fuck did you make a film about the Joker, about a Batman villain? I get it's hard to get movies made these days, but you can tell that story without a huge Hollywood budget, and without this massive marketing machine behind it. Todd Phillips had a vision, perhaps, of the story he wanted to tell, but I don't know necessarily if he wanted to make a Joker movie. I mean, the points that the movie tries to make, the political points, are kind of just, hammer and nail. We know there's inequality. Yeah, people with mental health don't get the treatment they need. Do you need to make a comic book movie to tell us these things? I mean, aren't people aware? It's like trying to make a Captain Planet movie these days. There's climate change. We're trying to do something about it. It's difficult. Same as the inequality issues. So that, there are complex layers and lots of barriers to progress. Making some film about a clown that shoots Robert De Niro, I just don't get what this movie was for. I didn't think it was that good. The dialogue at places is laughably bad. The performance from Joaquin Phoenix is great. De Niro's good too. Everyone else in it, I thought, were embarrassing in places. The subplot with Batman and everything, I was what? You've retconned all these characters. You can go, it takes place in a different cinematic universe or whatever. Doesn't matter. Thomas Wayne and the Waynes are supposed to be, the opposite to Joker. They're not supposed to be a root cause of him. They're supposed to be a barrier to what Joker wants to do and wants to achieve. What to say about how I just did not get this movie. This thing, people will say I didn't understand it. No, I understood it. I just didn't understand why it was made, who it was for. Are they going to make movies like this now to try and get people who are interested in real movies to go and and see comic book films? I don't know, because it's not going to work. Like, yeah, you might have actually made an interesting film with interesting ideas, with really good performances in, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's a movie about a Batman villain. So why? Just, Jesus, make something else. You can tell this story on an indie budget, the story you wanted to tell about a guy struggling with mental health, going out and killing someone. You could make this movie for a tiny budget. Yeah, just, if you want to make a movie about the Joker, make a movie about the Joker. If you want to make a movie about a crazy guy, make a movie about a crazy guy. Yeah. If this was, Todd Phillips subverting the system by, hey, I'll make your Joker movie, it's going to be great. And then he makes his film that he always wanted to make about mental health or whatever. Well done to you, but it was so jumbled up that it just didn't work for me. I don't have some hot take other than it's just not very good. Jenny Nicholson, a really good YouTuber, has done explained these points that I'm making pretty much to the letter. I think we're on the same page about Joker. Jenny Nicholson on YouTube, look it up. Her video's entitled "Well, I Didn't Like Joker," and neither did I. Another real disappointment, Godzilla King of Monsters. Like, this was built up to with 2 movies. We had Kong Skull Island, even though Kong's not in this one, we're going to get that later. Maybe not at all now, because this movie didn't do so well at the box office. We had all this build up for Godzilla King of Monsters, and we get whatever that was. If you love Godzilla and Godzilla movies, you want to see big monsters like smashing into each other and whole cities being destroyed, things like that. And you get that, but for some reason as well, we also get this plot, if you can call it that. There's human actors in it. They're all terrible. The script's bad. And the story is not interesting. There's just nothing going on except these monsters fighting each other. And that's what you come for, but there's not enough of it. I would have happily sat and watched an hour and a half of giant monsters fighting. And you don't get that. Instead, you get like a 2-hour film with about 10 minutes of monsters fighting, and the rest, like people from Stranger Things and Super 8 going, hey, we need to do something about these monsters. So I'm not interested in the human characters in a Godzilla film. When will people learn that? If you love Godzilla, you come for Godzilla. You don't come for fucking Matthew Broderick or Millie Bobby Brown. I know I've confused the 2 movies there. I did that on purpose. Yeah. Roland Emmerich's Godzilla is better than Godzilla King of Monsters. And there's something I never thought I'd say. Talking of giant turds, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Jesus, that was bad. Like, Jesus. I mean, everyone kind of knew it was going to be bad before it came out, but yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be quite just so boring, and all of the characters to look like they couldn't give a shit. The only person who seemed to be trying was Sophie Turner, and yeah, I mean, it was a car crash. Just an absolute car crash. Fuck, that was bad. Yeah, the last 10 minutes were okay, I guess. I mean, you criticize the Marvel movies for being too similar, perhaps, and they follow the same patterns and the same formulas, etc., etc. But at least they're competent. You know, the story makes sense, and there's, good characters and good dialogue. X-Men movies since maybe Days of Future Past have just been an absolute fucking dumpster fire, except for Logan, but that was its own thing. Yeah, I'm glad that this is where Fox X-Men ends, and we can finally get someone at the helm who knows what they're doing, because these have all been terrible. And then my final disappointment, the final crowning turd in the water pipe, was Yesterday by Richard Curtis and directed by, Jesus, someone I actually respected, Danny Boyle. That was just such a disappointment. A really good premise for a film, but then, yeah, just a huge, boring, shit, trite mess of just turd. Yeah, I can't even talk about Yesterday. It was just so bad. It was so boring. Everyone in it was weak. No one looked like they gave a fuck, except the main lead, and he had very little to work with. It was just an excuse to hear Beatles songs, but not even sung by the Beatles. If you love the Beatles, go listen to Beatles records. Yeah, I do not get what this film was for. It wasn't funny. It wasn't interesting. It didn't do anything new or interesting. Yeah, and for some reason we're supposed to buy in the film that Ed Sheeran is the greatest songwriter of all time. Yeah, I think that's all that needs to be said about Yesterday. So that was 2019. Wasn't all terrible, but mostly it was terrible for movies. Hopefully, in the last sort of couple of months of the year, just like last year, there'll be a couple of little gems. Something really crazy like Aquaman, or something that genuinely heartwarming and nice. Like, I really enjoyed Mary Poppins. It's the only one of these digital Disney bullshit remakes that has been any good. Hopefully, big Christmas movies and The Irishman can turn the year around, because Jesus, has been disappointing. Anyway, thanks for listening. Little bonus episode for you on the Pete and Fran podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. And maybe I'll do some more of these if people like them. If you do, leave a comment. Hit that like button. And then maybe I'll make some more. I just felt like talking about movies. So that's what I did. Thanks then. Bye.
I